Hi, good morning. We're gonna read from my front porch today because we have a book called Maple, and look what I have growing right in my front yard. A maple tree. So I thought this would be a fun place. We'll read underneath the maple. And then after we read, we're going to go tree collecting, and in order to take some samples, I have my gardening gloves, my clippers, a trug basket to hold all of the cuttings that I take, and then later on a bigger bucket to sort of arrange them when we get back to the table in the backyard. Alright, so we've got Maple by Lori Nichols, and there she is, Maple. Maple by Lori Nichols. Maple loved her name. When she was still a whisper, her parents planted a tiny tree in her honor. And even though Flavia, Millie Jane, Lena, Lily, and Constance were all good names, Maple was the perfect fit for her. And as Maple grew and grew and grew, so did her tree. Sometimes when Maple was noisy, which was a lot, her parents sent her outside to play. Her tree didn't mind if she was loud. Maple would sing to her tree, la 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 la, and sway for her tree. And sometimes she even pretended to be a tree. On some days when the wind was just right, Maple would simply lie under her tree and its leaves would dance just for her. Then, one day, Maple noticed her tree was bare. Maple worried her tree might get cold. So, Maple took off her jacket and gave it to the tree to stay warm. Sometimes Maple wished she had somebody else to play with. The tree was not very good at throwing snowballs. And she wondered if the tree felt the same way. So, Maple introduced her tree to a friend. That friendship didn't last. But Maple and her tree still had each other. Through winter and spring. Then one day, something surprising happened. Then something really surprising happened. Look, Mommy's got someone growing in her belly. Maple became a big sister. Maple tried to be a good big sister. If the baby was cold, Maple gave the baby her hat and gloves. If the baby was lonely, Maple would share her special friends. But Maple couldn't always make the baby happy. And when the baby was noisy, which was a lot, Maple would take her outside to play. And then something magical happened. Maple's tree danced for them both. And there was just enough room under the tree for Maple and her little sister, Willow. And look at what kind of tree Mom and Dad planted for the baby. So they have a maple and a willow, and they have a maple and a willow, And in my yard, guess what I have? I have a maple and willow. So just like our story has a maple and a willow, my yard has a maple and a willow. And we also have a lot of different other trees. So what we're going to do today is walk around and take samples from each of my trees. So this is my yard. I didn't think I had a lot of trees, but then the more I thought about it, we actually do. So here's our maple. We'll take some of these. And here we have a myrtle. And then we have a false cedar. That's this long, tall, swoopy one. This is our dogwood. This is a shade level tree. And we'll go see the willow. This is a curly willow. We'll take a look at its branches up close. This is one of the craziest trees in my garden. It's called the Harry Waters walking stick. And it doesn't make a lot of leaves. But it puts out these curly branches. We're gonna leave these leaves on this tree. They grow out the bottom each springtime and they make curly branches. So we're gonna leave these leaves alone. Oh my goodness. Look, there's Todd all the way up there, cutting down some pieces of our oak tree for this activity. He's a good sport. All right, and the last plant we're gonna do, the last tree, is this leather leaf. It's got very thick leathery leaves. So these are the branches that we cut on our nature walk around the yard. I've got them in this pot with a little bit of water in the bottom to keep them alive. And I thought we would use them to make a tree journal. I left my garden journal out overnight and it got rained on and it got destroyed. So we're gonna start over with a tree journal, and I'm gonna show you a fun way to use leaves, perhaps a little bit differently than you've ever done before. So I'm gonna clip in and we'll get started. Okay, so we all know how to make a science journal, right? You just take some paper, fold it in half and staple it. I'm gonna label it Tree Journal. And we will draw a little cover so we know a tree starts with its roots that go down, and then it's got a trunk that grows up. The trunk is covered with bark, and then we've got some branches that come out of the trunk. And then on these branches are leaves. And and as they fill in, it becomes a big, thick crown. So we've got our tree journal, and I'm going to show you how to keep track of the individual trees and leaves that you might find in your yard. Now, once upon a time, I had a proper book that, like how I had for my flowers, and oh, I know where it is. It's in the shed. So when I first bought my house, one of my friends, my kindergarten friends, gave me this book called The Best Plants for Your Garden. And if I told you I was looking for this all morning, it's been in my shed, because when I was learning about what was growing in my garden, I used to refer to it a great deal. So when you go to make your journal of things that are growing, it always helps to have a guide. I also have an app now that I use on my phone where you take a picture of the plant and you upload the leaves, and then they tell you what kind of plant. But this is the old-fashioned way. You can get a book or even some sort of leaf and tree guide like this. So we're gonna start with our tree journal, and you can do a few things. The first thing you can do is just pinch off a leaf and put some tape on it, and you can tape it right into your journal. Take a little bit of tape, curl it up, put it on the back, and tape it right in. And then what will happen is when you close your journal, the leaf will eventually dry out, just like our flowers. So we're gonna label this one. This is from a curly willow. Then I'm gonna see what else I've got. This leaf, you can see it's very thick, and you can examine the back and see all the veins. And it's got some dust on the back. We'll tape this one down too. This one is a leather leaf. And if you can actually touch this plant, you would see why, because it feels like leather. It's a pretty tough leaf. So we'll write down leather leaf. Now you can just continue taping down your leaves, looking them up in your guide, and writing it down. But the bad thing about this way of doing things is eventually, we all know, right, the tape is going to lose its stickiness and the leaf is going to dry up and disintegrate. So if you want your journal to last, I'm going to show you another technique. And we're going to make a leaf rubbing. So in order to do that, you need to make yourself a naked crayon. So you can see I'm going to use this one because Millie likes to chew on my crayon, so this one's already ready. So we're going to peel off the paper from our crayon. Come on. I'm going to make it so that it's all nude. And then I'm going to choose a leaf, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do. So let's find a leaf. So here we've got 2 leaves. These are from that maple tree in my front yard. So to do a leaf rubbing, you put your leaves behind your paper. I like to do them with the back side up, but you can be a scientist and try both ways and see which procedure works best for you. Then you take your crayon And you're not gonna go like this, you're gonna rub it. Hold it flat. And as you rub, you're going to get an imprint of your leaves. See? So there are my 2 leaves that come through the back, and these are maple. So I'm gonna label them maple, just like the little girl in our story. So I'm gonna do a few more. We'll speed up the video and then we'll go back and I'll show you what we did. So here we started our tree journal, and we've got rubbings of all of our leaves. I went ahead and I did these so that they would match. Curly willow, leather leaf, maple, oak, false cedar, dogwood, pear. And now another fun thing you can do is you can combine your prints with different colors, and we'll do that on the back page. So I can show you how that kind of works. So we're just gonna lay our leaves in, and here's where you can really pay attention to the different shapes and patterns of leaves. Maybe we will do some sort of leaf sorting activity. I know we do a lot of that in the fall, so I didn't really want to repeat, but leaves are definitely something that everyone has around their yard. And it's also, you know, you can dissect them and sort them. And like, because let's see, we've got leaves that are sort of oval shaped. So let's put those together, right? These are the same. So these are pears. And then this leather leaf is sort of ovally. This one I would say has a saw shape. Let's see what else. So maybe we want to group leaves that are alike together. And you don't, I used green, but you don't have to only use green. So you can kind of mix the colors too in your rubbings and really create a nice piece of art. So here we've got leaves that are oval shaped. Then we've got leaves that are sort of star shaped or pointy. Let's see. We'll put a maple in there and an oak. So you can definitely sort your leaves and do prints of them, not only based on the kind of tree that they come from, but also on their shape that they are. So here, look, I'm going to use my red. And then maybe I'll go over it with some yellow. Summertime's a nice time to do this activity. A lot of teachers like to do it in the fall, but then if your leaves are not alive, if they don't have a lot of moisture to them, you don't get these nice veins, and you can really sort of see the different parts of the leaves. So we will definitely do more with leaves, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of a head start with things that you can do in terms of making a leaf journal. So you can separate them by specimen. or you can separate them by shape. There's lots of different ways that you can set up your tree journal.